Hey guys, this is Frank, your virtual general aviation aviator, and today I am in the Thranda Beaver, and this time I'm doing a reverse course flight. Alright, so I've already got my takeoff clearance, and my taxi instructions for runway 34, which is where we're taking off from. Winds are calm. Take the brake off. And we're going to take Papa directly to runway 34. Okay, Papa's are matching up. All right, let's put in flaps. Take off. Such a long runway, I don't really need all this takeoff road, but I am heavy. I've got 185, I got 4 adults, actually 6 adults, and 150 pounds of payload. I got gas in the wing tanks, gas in the front tank, mid tank, and the rear tank, and I've got gas in the underbelly. So I am pretty heavy, so I probably do need all of these flaps, and turn our lights on. And start our takeoff road. I do have ortho scenery installed, so that's what we're looking at. There's the river. Flaps. And continue my climb. Cruising altitude today is going to be 2,000. Up, so let's set our prop speed. some of this ortho may have been taken on beam in the wintertime. Because with all this white, looks like maybe some snow in the low lying areas. Manifold pressure need to go back to 30 once we reach cruise. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to follow the river very well if I can't see it. So I'm going to move to the left, to the right, so I can look out of my left window and keep the river in sight. METAR said the weather was calm, and with that haze out there, that indicates stable air, because there's no wind blowing that haze around, blowing the air around, which is one of the reasons why it looked kind of hazy. Do a cruise checklist. Manifold pressure at 30, prop at 20, mixture is a little leaned. Don't have to do too much leaning. Still in a climb attitude here, so let's trim off some back pressure, just enough to get back down to 2,000. Put up just a touch of pressure on our yoke. I did install ortho. I don't know how far the ortho extend, as this is the first time I'm taking this flight. This is the first time I'm taking the back course flight. Even with the, see if my mic is like engine sounds where I want them. My headphones are set on. Yeah, I would say yes. It's still a little loud, and my voice is low, so. Turn the engine sound down just a tad. Mic check. Okay. And turn the mic up just a tad. Didn't realize the mic went down. All right. see, I failed to turn off my landing lights. Landing lights are off. No yaw damper or anything like that to be concerned with. This is a naturally aspirated, carbureted aircraft, so I do need to apply carb heat when I get ready to land. Anybody want to bet I forget to apply carb heat? All right. And if I can get this trimmed just where I want it, then that would be awesome, because I am not using the autopilot. So this is Newfoundland, Canada, and it looks like there's an industrial or residential area coming up, and what you're seeing, a lot of what you're seeing below is real. Let's see, that may just be some hills that's capturing a little snow. I imagine that low-lying areas and high points may have snow that hadn't quite melted. But it's not a lot of folks in this neck of the woods. So it's interesting to see just how populated this area is. So I got my altitude right where I want it. And I got it trimmed. Now most aircraft and X-plane has a climb tendency for some reason. I don't know if that's a X-plane thing or a real life thing. But I'm pretty sure this is ortho, and I'm not really seeing any buildings or not a lot of civilization. I wonder if that's a building. I'm only 200 feet AGL. So I would think that it shouldn't be that hard to discern rooftops of buildings, but yeah, so I don't see hardly any civilization down here. Okay, now see a color shift here, and I'm trying to see if this tower ended. Sometimes what they do is take pictures at different times and join them together in one ortho 4XP towel, and you might get something like this. I've gotten to the point where I don't let that break my immersion, and it, well, I never really did. This route, incidentally, was initially introduced to me by a guy named David Ansley, I think, David A. And I rarely fly such flat terrain, but I'm actually glad that he sent me this, because following this river is a lot of fun in this Beaver. And you can see I'm like a kid, even though this is a simulator and the scenery isn't quite real. I am spending most of my time looking out the window and enjoying the scenery, enjoying the river. So let's see what my speeds are. So I'm 113 indicated. And I obviously got a headwind because I'm 111 over the ground. Let's do a gas check. I'm on my front tank, and I think I started with, well, looks like I'm down till about 18 gallons, so I'm good. I think I'll use all the gas in that front tank, but I will not need to pour gas out of the auxiliary tanks, the wing tanks, nor the belly tank. I do have a video where I was up in Canada. I think I was in Manitoba province, and it was winter time, and I was doing the flight, had a pretty strong headwind, and it was rainy and cold and just miserable on that flight. And I had to ditch because I ran out of gas, didn't have enough gas to get to my destination. I'll if anybody is interested in seeing that video, then I'll link it in the description upon request. I have a channel, my aviation channel gets consistently anywhere between 30 and 50 views and then it kind of peter out, and usually I would say maybe anywhere between 5 to 8, maybe even 10 of those views may even be mine, because I tend to watch, well, I tend to start the video multiple times looking for various things. And it's funny because I really like going back after a few months and looking at some of my flight videos. I don't really do a lot of progressing. which means that I don't tend to push myself to learn more. What is going on with the scenery here? I don't know. Not the scenery, but the rendering. All right, so that cleared up. Now, I guess if I wanted to fly over the river, I could use the GPS. Trim off this climb. Now, with the nature of trim, when you trim down, you pick up airspeed, which creates lift, and that lift creates that upward motion, and sometimes that can oscillate. So the Havilland Beaver was introduced, I want to say, I looked at that information before, but I can't remember. So I'm not even going to go there. But I think the last one was, well, I looked at that information too, and I don't want to give you any false information, or I think. So, whoops. I thought I would look it up. And if I recall correctly, there is a video that someone made on the Havilland Beaver. Okay, so the first flight in the Beaver was was 1946, and it became commercially available in 1948, and it stayed in production until 1967. So, and that's just from the Wilkie page. It was, let's see, it was for, I thought it was initially an Air Force plane. Let's see, in April of '48, the first production aircraft was delivered to the Ontario Department of Land and Forests. A Royal New Zealand Air Force Beaver played a supporting role. Okay, so there you go. And now, the actor Harrison Ford owns and fly a Beaver. In fact, he landed his Beaver on a taxiway, I think at John Wayne may not have been John Wayne, some airport, accidentally. So of course he had to explain to the FAA why and how he managed to do that. Get back up to altitude here. And let's see, are we still trying to determine if we still looking at ortho or is this default scenery? Quite frankly, it's hard to tell, but it looks like default. Yeah, I would say this is probably the default scenery. But yeah, the edges of the river are too, looks like the pattern is repeating. Okay, so just wanted to check my map, make sure that I hadn't strayed off course. Of course, there is no map in the old school Beavers, but most aircraft, I ain't gonna say most, but a lot of aircraft, even vintage aircraft, has picked up the GPS, and I think the FAA is getting close to requiring, I think it's ADS-B, and if I'm not mistaken, that it's a position reporting system. All right. Now, at some point we'll get to an area where the rivers join, and I do know that I want to track to the left. There's another flight that I took, and oh, I'm pretty low, am I? Aren't I? There's another flight that I took where I was on my way from Minipi to Goose Bay, the reverse direction of this flight, and I followed that river and wound up at a whole different airport, miles and miles way off course. I think on that flight I had some guys that who had chartered the aircraft, and they were trying to get to a location to meet a guy who had canoed the waterways for miles and miles, and they wanted to meet him as he came in to his final destination so that they can take pictures and interview him. And it was real tough getting him there. I don't recall whether we got him there, whether I got him there on time or not, but it's really interesting how quickly you can take a wrong turn in the air. It's not like a highway where you got signs that say turn this way, but any good pilot will have studied the art of navigation. So I am going to cross the river. There have been a little jump in the video. I had to stop for a second. Can't do that in real life. But in real life, I don't have the same responsibilities. I wouldn't have the same responsibilities if I was actually flying the plane as I got. So, yeah, took the break. All right. So, I can see the river all the way up here. So, one of the better ways to fly VFR is to find a spot, pick it, and fly to it. So let's do a fuel check. As soon as we stop this descent. All right, fuel check. So now we're down to what, 10 gallons. And where's my spot that I was going to fly to? I think I see it. But I do want to get a little bit closer to the water so I don't have controlled flight into terrain. As long as I'm in the yellow, I'm technically okay, but it's better to be in the green. And so maybe I'll add another towel to the west of the existing towel, and hopefully that would give me enough coverage to get to Minipi. Now, if any of you guys want to fly this, there is some scenery objects that was modified by David A, and that scenery will allow you to just add a little bit more. We'll add a little bit more immersion, and I think, if I recall correctly, some pilot, maybe a pilot who was pretty well known in the community, I think he went down, and I think David places a record somewhere in this scenery, and I have not yet found it, but honestly I have not searched for it either. All right, so I think this is where the river moved to the moved to the well, anyway, I followed the river that turned to the right rather than straight up, but I do know that I need to follow these pathways, waterways. And they should spread back out at some point. So yeah, there is water there, but given the terrain, okay, I see it. See what's happening there. It's snaking. And quite frankly, I can't really tell which way the water is flowing. Can't really tell whether the water is flowing in the direction of the flight or back up towards Goose Bay. My guess is the water ought to be flowing at this point in the direction of the flight or to the south. I should try this flight in Microsoft Flight Sim just to see what the scenery looks like. If the scenery looks this good in X-Plane, it ought to look awesome in Microsoft Flight Sim. But like I said, I just want to follow the water. One way you can tell X-plane scenery is sometimes you get straight lines where you would imagine there wouldn't be straight lines. All right, so there is a hill up front, and I was thinking I might be able to fly to that hill, but I do see water on both sides of the hill. So obviously this waterway looks like it may be joining another waterway, which would almost indicate that the water is flying to the south in the direction of the flight until it gets to that bend, and then I think it flows north up to Goose Bay. All right, gas check. We're under 5 gallons here, and let's just verify that. Eight gallons. But it won't be long before we are out Like we got some rain or some poor visibility up front. Actually, that would probably be rain in real life, the way that's looking. I don't know, it could just be low-lying clouds. The X-plane does a poor job at depicting rain, and when Austin Miles was asked in a seminar whether or not the next generation would have rain, he didn't sound too enthused about simulating that kind of stuff. But I think his team know the value of simulating stuff like rain. Okay, so some did have to add a little bit more trim, maybe because of the weather difference, barometric pressure, or something. Let's see if we can't figure out what our barometric pressure actually is. I didn't have this turned on. My bad. That's one thing I wish FS Global Weather would fix. Have this start up fully without having to click on a lot of stuff like you would in PD3. But this is modeled after PD3 and kind of ported over to X-Plane, so it kind of live outside of X-Plane's plugins. All right, so pressure is 1014, 2995. I can adjust that. Wind is 241 at 3. And so 1095. From high to low, look out. So how'd it go? From high to low, look out below. From trying to remember how that barometric pressure, say there's a saying, it has a saying. Trying to remember what it is. And if the barometric pressure is moving from high to low, look out below. Okay, so I'm about 500 feet above where I want to be, but since I'm flying VFR, then and I'm under 3,000, then it really doesn't make much difference. In the United States, I wouldn't get in trouble for flying 2,000. Now this waterway should open up into a lake, and once I get there, I should find Minipi somewhere. There's a good chance I won't find it. I know for sure is that it's on the right side of the lake. At least the weather didn't change significantly. And I am going to go ahead and switch tanks. You know what I could do? I could drain fuel out of the wing tank That's what I'm gonna do. So what does that say? Wing tanks, both. That's what I want. And see if you can see my fuel in that front tank is coming up. I guess you may not be able to see it. Let's see. Let's do it this way. As that fuel drain from my wing tanks and replenish my front tank, you can see it just barely coming up. So now, yeah, so that's working as intended. Excuse me. $2,995. I got few at 1100. So if I want to avoid the clouds, then I need to get down to about 1,000. So I'm just going to stay up here at 25. No, not 25. 2,000 is what I want. Ooh, excuse me. And there are the lakes that are starting to open up. And so I shouldn't be very far from Minipi. The landing strip is like a class G untowered landing strip. In fact, the one that's there, I think David put in a landing strip. So, and I know I redid my scenery. So I hope I got the landing strip installed. Alright, so I'm at 2,000 and I am going to continue coming down. Actually, I know that my assets are going to be on the right bank, so I want to fly where I can see the right bank. And I want to say that it may be somewhere just before that hill, up in here, but I don't know. I do recall taking off from Minipi and having to climb out over a hill. And if I don't have the scenery installed, then I may not find the airport assets. And if I do have it installed, there are people on the lake. I don't have the amphibious version, so I can't sit down and no joy. Let's see. Now this is kind of make it hard because I said it was on the right bank. But there are several places to the right. All right, this may be it up here. Aha, there's my strip right there. All right, so winds were 241 at 3, I think. So, guess I think I'm too far out to make this landing. So we want to land on 180. So we'll do we'll fly the pattern. And yeah, this is David's assets. Okay, so let's turn crosswind. Watch that speed. And yeah, you can see the people on the lake there. And don't really know what the elevation of the field is. So I'm gonna give myself kind of a long final here. All right, lamps, gas, lights. Did I change tank? Oh yeah, I added fuel back to the tank. All right, let me check my tank. And looks like I'm full. I need to turn these off because the gas would just flow out. And I need, oh. This is not good. I can't, there we go. All right, so I got plenty of speed to climb up out of this debacle I just made. All right, so let's do a the equivalent of a 360 here. And all right, so that was gas, lights, undercarriage, fix, mixture, and prop. My compass is really hard to see. So I want to come back around to the south. And I think I've passed the, yeah, let's go back. Let's see. I'm not sure where I'm at, guys. Let's do another 360 here. This is where track IR can really come in handy, because you can swing your head and look for stuff. Let's see now, am I north of the field or south of it? The field is unmarked on my map. And I believe for some reason I feel like I'm north of it. All right, I'm pretty high. I've got the 25. And I don't know the terrain well enough. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it again. So it feels like I've gone far enough south. I'm actually going east. Okay, I think I'm way too far east here. So you can see why this can be kind of tough to find. Is that it there? Yeah, I think that's it. Nope. You can't tell. No, that's not it. Gee whiz. So I could spend hours looking for this airport with all these inlets and outlets. I really could. And guess I could technically be almost over top of it and not know it. Anybody seen the movie Hunt for Red October? Maybe I should do a crazy Alvin. Let's see. I'll just make it a 360 here, just in case I did fly over it and not know it. This is too hilly for it to be here. And I'm beginning to feel like this is where I came in at. So let's turn around. We'll do one more pass. Feel like I'm mighty low. I wish there was a really good feature to memorize this. All right, so we'll go over this hill. And the problem is I could literally be miles off course. Literally. Sure that there's no lake on that side that I'm It was nice that I found it pretty much straight away coming in. It's terrible that I lost it. So sad part is I don't really see anything that I recognize. I do know that there was a hill pretty close to the, but unless I get so far south that I just don't recognize anything, which it's starting to feel that way. Yeah, see, I don't really recognize any of this stuff. Haven't flown this that often, but these features here, if I had seen them, I think I could recall these. And first time seeing these, so let's turn around and head east again. And let's keep the terrain on my left here where we can keep a good eye out for what we're looking for, and looking for a cabin on the edge with some flags, a couple flags, some wake turbulence in the water, and kinda in a little cove. And that actually could technically see herein a lot of problem, because let's just look over here. So I don't remember any water being on this side of the airport. But you see what I mean about I could literally spend hours looking for this strip now. And all right, so I don't know that. I don't think it's gonna be down this far. Is that a bird? Or maybe that's a shadow. So let's take a peek up here. And I feel like I'm getting close. I feel like it may be around this bend here. Keep that barrel feature in mind, just in case it is, so I can have some other stuff to look for. Might even run up on that wreck that I think might be out here. I think that's what I was told might be a wreck. All right. Now I'm in doubt again, but I am going to stay the course for a little bit. Oh man, is that water way over here? It is. I am totally off. And since I can create user waypoints on this GPS, what I should have did was drop a waypoint in, but I think that extended downwind that I caught myself doing was more painful than helpful. Oh, there it is. Got it. Oh. All right. So let's fly over. And no, you can't see the flag here. You can't in the building. All right, let's fly over. And okay, so I do have water in some places. All right, and let's try to peel off this altitude. And let's get back on a crosswind, which I'm probably already on. And I think, okay, there is my assets. Okay. All right, so my landing lights are still on. Glumps, mixture props. Put in a notch of flaps. And that put us a beam carb heat. So in that carb heat, and turn. Actually, watch that speed. More flaps, and there's the runway, and this is going to be ugly. Too low. Going around. Well, maybe not. Yeah, going around. It's too fast, so have wound up ground looping. Oh man, I hate when that happens. So, well, it is what it is. And I had a lot of people on this. Oh yeah, that's one thing I forgot. I was heavy. Had quite a few people, and on that go around. Anyway, let's look at it. Let's look at it. I hate that we didn't survive the end of this flight. But I did realize that I didn't like the approach. I wanted to go around, tried to go around. All right. So let's see what I look like from this perspective. So I got too much flaps, too much drag, so I'm not picking up airspeed. My flaps are coming up, and then I think I took out too much flaps, and so that was mismanagement of the flaps. Because one thing about this Beaver, it has massive flaps. You know, it's funny because lately I've seen it be having more bad landings, crashes than I have good landings, and that wouldn't work in real life. You know, you need to nail your landings consistently if you're gonna fly an aircraft. Anyway, so that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the flight, and hope nobody that you know was on board. And fortunately, I can reanimate and come back and fly another day. Anyway, let's turn these mags off, and I've already turned off the lights, and everything is off yet. So what do I have here? Turn bank. I don't even know what that is. Probably should find out. But anyway, till next time, like and subscribe.
Y'all come back now. Cheers.